to another episode of the Critical Podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Good, and joining me once again is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how are you doing, pal?
It was a dark and stormy night.
Uh-oh.
The moon peeked between the clouds as I opened the giant manor door. I don't know. I feel like that's a good intro to a great scary story or a horror podcast, don't you think?
That's true. Is that we're not doing that? But I mean, like, if you
damn it, I prepared for hours.
He just sat up all night and he's like, "All right, so this is how a door creaks." Is that too much on the E's? No, that's great, Joe. It's wonderful.
One less E. One less E.
One less E, indeed. Well, thank you for joining me again, my friend. This week we're going to talk about something kind of as a follow-up. Joe, originally, I had this idea where I was going to bring on Wes and Caden, some kind of friends I've met through, the internet and whatnot, to talk about all the biggest kind of exclusive, quote-unquote, games that came out this past generation. And we started with PlayStation. We did that for like 3 hours, and we never got to the other stuff. So I wanted to follow up and do one for Xbox. And because Switch is still kind of like mid-generation, we're not sure. I kind of was like, maybe we'll hold off on that until later on down the line. But I wanted to represent, for the Microsoft fans out there too, not just do the Sony stuff. So, but also kind of a disclaimer here. Microsoft kind of releases a lot of their stuff now and for a little bit, like both on Xbox and PC simultaneously. So it's not exclusive to just Xbox on PC, but as far as consoles, I'm still going to count it. So forgive me if you're like, how dare he? Why did he say that Gears 5 launched on both? And it's like, yeah, I know, but I still want to talk about it. Okay. All right. Anyway, with that preamble out of the way, we're going to get right into it, Joe. The Xbox One has been around since, I believe, 2013 or so. Mine's still kicking. Yeah. 7 years young, still using that original controller somehow. But anyway, I want to start
Same here, but I'm 10 controllers deep, sorry.
I know, that's okay. I understand.
And 5 TVs.
You crush it. Wait, 5? No, not 5 TVs. Not. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
You're whipping them at that TV.
I figured that was the case. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, did you get 5 TVs since we started?
No.
Like, oh my gosh. No. Anyway, I'm going to start with one that was kind of weird. I know it's the one that you didn't play. I played a little bit of it, but it was kind of the first exclusive. It came from Insomniac Games, which they're known for Ratchet & Clank and now Spider-Man. But this was Sunset Overdrive in 2014. This is a third-person shooter where, like, you were supposed to, like, Joe, be constantly, like, grinding on... It was rails and shooting at the same time. It was kind of like, what if Tony Hawk met, like, kind of Gears of War? Well, there's no cover, but it's like a third-person shooter. And you're supposed to kind of, like, go around this, like, really colorful world with these weird weapons, and you're like jumping on cars and kind of like grinding like not only rails but wires and things and shooting these zombies who drank this like tainted energy drink.
Sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it was kind of intense, I'll be honest, and I know some people really enjoyed it. I tried it and I was like, I kind of, in my third person shooters, I appreciate when they try to do something different, right? But it was so like they wanted you to constantly be moving all the time. And it kind of was like, it was hard to aim for me. I was like, the idea of kind of leading shots is already hard enough in a third-person shooter for me, let alone when I'm like grinding on a rail in the opposite direction. I was like, friggin'.
Well, and with a third-person shooter, third person lends itself well to doing like some really cool, like tactical things like Gears of War with cover and things of that nature. So it's unfortunate you lose that in a third person because you're just constantly moving and grinding in open space, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And most of the enemies weren't necessarily shooting back all the time. I think some were, but it was kind of like, it was a little more of a power fantasy. Yeah, I don't know. It was funny too because it was an M-rated game, so there was like a lot of swearing and it was like a super cartoony world, and not that you can't have that, not that isn't more predominant today, especially like on TV. But at the time, I remember like watching this and I was like, I couldn't believe my ears. I was like, what the heck? I'm like, I was not like my sensitive little ears. No, I was surprised. I was like, whoa, this is so. It felt like such a weird juxtaposition that is so commonplace nowadays. But at the time, I was like, okay, cool. But it's interesting to see like the transition from like Ratchet and Clank for those guys to Sunset Overdrive. And now doing Spider-Man, you could definitely tell, I think, some of the influence in Sunset Overdrive about momentum and movement is baked into Spider-Man. So because of that, I appreciate the game. I'm like, okay, maybe made Spider-Man a better game overall. So that's the hope.
That's a natural segue.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Well, if I were talking about the Spider-Man anyway, but yes, you're right. Is a natural segue for that company.
Well, for the company, yeah.
Yes, exactly, for sure. Have you seen any of this, Joe? Do you know what I'm talking about? Kind of.
Yeah, I remember back when it was coming out, I saw little blurbs of it.
Yeah.
Nothing that blew my mind. It wasn't something that necessarily interests me,
Sure.
but
That's
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Stylish.
Yeah, we had to bring it up. That was just the
stylish.
beginning. This is a game, though, that you definitely played, and it was something that not only did we all play, but actually got your wife, your girlfriend at the time, Haley, into games, and that's Halo 5 Guardians, which I know a lot of like Halo diehards weren't necessarily super fans of the PvP or the multiplayer in this, but we had a
Yep.
lot of fun. Like, I think we had a great time playing Halo 5. It felt really good, and I know that some of the complaints, Joe, were like, some people didn't like the shoulder charge or like the ground smash. I liked those things because I think they provided some like interesting like moments in gameplay. Like for me personally, I enjoyed those aspects. Like, do you remember some of that stuff? Was there anything in there that you really enjoyed?
I do. It was fun to party up and go at it in the PvP and everything, and then the robot ball, as my wife likes to call it,
little griff ball.
Which griff ball, yeah.
Griff
But
ball.
griff ball, it was simple. It was kind of addicting.
Yeah, that was super fun. And for people who don't know what that was, it was basically like what Rocket League is, but take away the cars and you were Spartans and you either had a sword or a hammer. And that was kind of what you had. And then if you grabbed a ball, like you could only attack like with the ball. It was really interesting, and it was funny because like there were a lot of tactics we evolved. You know, like obviously spawn camping was a thing that you could get pretty good at, or like just having two people down in the end zone. It was very like kind of like football. Like if you were a quarterback and you had like wide receivers and you're like, I'm chucking it, and you just like throw it and they grab it and they'd score a goal. And I remember we found stuff that like there were videos later on too that people like kind of got out of the boundaries and they could like run up the mountain and stuff that was in the background too. I was like, oh, it was an interesting like arena. It was really pretty. But yeah, we played a lot of Griffball. We played plenty of just Slayer and stuff. Yeah, man, some pretty fun maps. I don't know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was
there
fun.
Was a bigger mode, right, where it was like a bigger.
Dude, yeah, we're talking about Warzone. I think was that what it was called?
I forget if that was what it was called or not, but yeah, maybe that's what it was. But that was fun too. I found that once I put it down for a while and I got back in somewhat recently, probably a couple of years ago, I think we tried it again, or a year and a half ago, and I was like, I started to hate it because I had fell so out of form. But I remember having a lot of fun in that, and you know, it's a more intimate game style. It's more intimate than like the BRs and things of today. So I look back upon it fondly, and like you say, I think a lot of the diehards or the committed audience for Halo, maybe I don't want to say ridiculed it, but were scrutinized it a little bit. But I've also heard a lot of people that are first person shooter and original Halo purists, they talk about it as being an underrated gem.
Okay.
It was good, but it wasn't necessarily such a leap up the ladder that it impressed them much, right? But a lot of people talk about it as if it's underrated. Granted, the caveat to that is they also go on to say that it wasn't the best and not top of the mantle in their mind as far as Halo goes. But like what a lot of people talk about, Halo 2 is the top-notch Halo?
Usually, yeah. Typically, but I could be wrong about that. I'm probably frustrating some Halo fans. But yeah, I think it's cool that you brought up that point. I don't know if it really preceded all of the Battle Royale stuff, but like that Warzone gameplay was so weird and different where it was PvP, but they're also like other AI enemies you could take out for points for your team, and then you had cards, and then you could use those cards to get vehicles or like the saw, like bigger guns. Like I loved the saw in that game. It was super fun. It was like a light machine gun. It had like a round drum. It was wonderful. But I liked playing that. It was chaotic. It was so crazy because you're like trying to hold different points and you're trying to score more points for your team, and it was
for some reason I could never establish much of a flow.
Yes, because there wasn't one.
Sense.
There was you just couldn't in that one. Whereas like a team deathmatch or Slayer, I should say, or other game modes, you're like, okay, like capture the flag, I kind of get it. With this one, it was like there's so many objectives, there's so many things you could be doing to help your team. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and one thing I'd be remiss not to talk about is the campaign a little bit. I think the enemies and the different guns, those like kind of crazy like the metal shard guns and stuff, weren't that great, and I think that's one of the reasons why when you introduce new weapons to Halo, like I'm sure some people out there be like some of those are the best guns, but I never felt like they had the weight and the cool feel as some of the old Covenant weapons, or more so like the human weapons, which always felt like they packed such a punch. When you're like, oh my gosh, with the shotgun, you're like boom, and you're like, yep, you're done. Like it felt good. And I don't know how much of the campaign you played, Joe, but it was also a hilarious story because it was like Master Chief has gone rogue and he's trying to turn against the human race, and you have to send this other Spartan group out to go get him. And it was so funny because I'm like, Master Chief has saved the universe how many times, and like now he's like gone rogue, and like we gotta bring him in, and it's like, do you have to, like, is that okay?
Well, eventually in the campaign, you run into them and you're running together as a squad, I think, right?
I think, yeah, and they also each have their own squads, which one of my favorite cinematics, by the way, Joe, I don't know if you remember this, but like was for like the intro of this game, and it shows Spartan Locke and his team like running down the side of a mountain and just killing Covenant troops just like left and right like they're nothing. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And you kind of do that in this game. You start to like run through, if you move with like a group, you're just like, wow, we can cover a lot of ground here. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I think Halo 5 I thought it was pretty good, and we put plenty of time into it, especially the Griff Ball.
yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. That was 2015, though. That was 5 years ago, Joe, and now we're still waiting for that next big Halo. Halo Infinite. Incoming. Imminent, almost, basically, is another way to put it. The next one I'll talk about here is Ori and the Blind Forest. Now, I speak for Joe when I say neither of us have played this, and I feel bad about that because I know it's a game that a lot of people love. It's kind of from what I understand, it's a very beautiful platformer, kind of Metroidvania-esque, where you get more powers, potentially. I could be wrong on that. And you get like, I should say it's more about like, it's more about like very precise platforming. I mean, kind of moving through this world, which looks like a painting. This game and Will-o'-the-Wisps and everything, they look gorgeous to me. They're so pretty, and every time I see them pop up, I'm like, oh, I'm endeared to it. I just haven't taken the time to go and play them. Joe, has they interest you at all? I know you said that before we talked today, you're like, you can kind of picture it in your head, right? Like the little white kind of rabbit squirrely-esque Ori.
Yep. On a black background, kind of nighttime painting.
There might be an owl there or something, or a bear.
Yeah, so it looks kind of pretty. The art it's different, but picturesque and kind of neat. But as far as a game, something that's not necessarily in my wheelhouse or on my shelf to pick from. But
sure.
But yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Like, you get games like this that were given a big enough budget and time to work on it that like you can really push it to a new level. Because a lot of times games like this don't have the time or the money into it to make them look this level, like production quality wise. And I've heard it feels really good to play too. Because with these types of like precise action platformers, you really need to have that control down, otherwise your game is gonna suffer. If you're like, I'm trying to do 4 dodges in and amongst all this stuff, and it's all on fire, or something's after me, and you're just like, I'm just trying to move through this. So I've also heard it's a pretty hard game, which like it doesn't at first look like it is, because like, oh, it's kind of cute and nice, but I've heard it's actually kind of difficult. So maybe one day I'll go back. The next one I think we'll talk about it a little while here. It came out in 2016, and it's one that is very near and dear to my heart, or a franchise that is, and that is Gears of War 4. Now, if you haven't watched any of these shows or listened to my voice ever before, Gears of War is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time, probably in the top 5 easily. I love it. So when they're like, we're coming back to do Gears 4, I was like, okay, because like after 3, it kind of resolved in a way, and I was like, sure. Then you get JD, who's Marcus Phoenix's kid, who's like, he's okay. And like, I like this game. And Joe, we played through the whole campaign together, if I remember correctly. Yep. We had some good times. It was pretty fun. You hadn't really played through Gears of War before ever. So before I completely, talk here or there about this, what did you think of this as being your kind of initial entry to Gears?
I enjoyed it. It's got a good horror vibe to it, kind of jump scary. The cinematics were excellent, and I can just appreciate kind of the world, and the in the I don't remember what they were called, but the enemy, the
Oh, you're talking
AI.
about the swarm.
Yeah, and then there's different like types of them, like, and you got like that like spidery creature that comes around and like eats you in the stomach and runs
Oh, the
away.
snatcher. Yeah.
The snatcher, yeah. I mean, there's things like that that it's very diverse, I guess. And then between the different weapon types and then the god laser
Oh,
thing
Hammer
that
Dawn.
hammer down. I
Yes,
mean, stuff like that.
the
It's just
hammer.
pretty unreal. So, um, yeah, I enjoyed it. And then in the end, it ends with like this climactic, like you're in big mech suits.
Yeah,
Like, come on,
yeah, that's
that
cool.
was pretty awesome. Like they make you feel like kind of all powerful at the end and just like smashing and crashing. So it was cool. Um, so I did like that aspect. Obviously, it's a campaign. I played through it once, and I don't know that I necessarily go back to it. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe years down the line, I probably could and still have some fun with it. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it, and it's just high quality. It's well done. Cinematic cuts and stuff, and then the art of it all. It's really nice.
yeah. I
Really nice.
I agree. For me, I think the one big downside for it was like I didn't like the robot enemies very much. I found them to be very not compelling. But some of the stuff they were using for like the physics engine during those storm sequences, like those solar flares and things, wind
Yeah.
flares, I should say. That stuff was really fun. Where you'd be behind cover and you'd see like some yellow kind of like barricades up, and then you could shoot those, and then like a bunch of pipes would come flying past in the middle of a storm and just rip some swarm apart. And you're like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Like I wanted more of that in this game, but it felt like they were trying to do a return to form to like how original Gears was, like the first Gears of War, where it was kind of like dark and spooky, scary, and that was kind of the vibe they went for. And I think it did pretty well. We didn't really play a ton of the I'm never a big PvP guy in Gears. I've done it a few times. I'm never really into it. We played a bit of Horde, or I tried it, and they definitely fleshed Horde out in a big way in this game. But I
And it was
liked it.
fun.
Yeah, we had a good time with it for the bit we played, but it still wasn't like it wasn't cracking my feelings for the original ones. Which the original ones, the enemy types are even better, I think, in those old ones. Personally,
Oh.
I just like Gears 1 and 2. In 3, they started to do this thing called the Lambent, where you basically have like Swarm Joe, but they had like emulsion, this yellow like liquid ore, and they would explode when you shot them, and it was fine. But I just like the classic Locust, which are Locust Forever, baby. Oh, I love Gears. But I was trying to think of any weapons that were new in this one that were really exciting to me. I think there's some more in Gears 5 that are better, but there wasn't really much in this one that like blew me away. I was just happy to get the hammer once in a while when we did, and just you have like the lancers, and you're like, yep, this is pretty much what you'd expect.
Yeah, yeah. The Lancer is the chainsaw gun.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think you can ever. That's the most memorable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously a staple in the franchise and through a constant. But you think of Gears of War before you think of anything, you're thinking of that gun.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's this game. It's either this one or the next one. I'm pretty sure it's this one where they do like a big recap, and you basically play like one battle, like human versus human in the very beginning of the campaign. Then you do like Emergence Day, like when you see the actual old Locust pop up, and then there's like one at Anvil Gate, and it's a really cool way to like, if you didn't play 1, 2, and 3, to like get into the story, to be like, okay, these 3 battles were like the lead up into what the world is today. But yeah, like you said though, the budget on this one and the production value is super high. Like in the cinematics and stuff, it all looks
Yeah,
great. And shout out to my man John DiMaggio for playing Marcus Phoenix, coming back all grizzled. Oh man, I could like, it's like the guy's like, he got a bunch of gravel Joe, and he just chews on it when he talks. I'm like, ugh, so good, man. Ugh, I love it. I love it so much.
that's funny.
Gears 4. I did a review on it, so it's probably popping up somewhere here. So if you want to go check that out, I did it a long time ago. It was really fun. Next one, this is a game I know I didn't play. I'm positive Joe didn't play, but it's called Quantum Break. It came out in 2016. This is a weird game, Joe, because it was a third-person shooter, but you had the ability to kind of manipulate time. So like you could like shoot a car and like freeze it, I think, and then it would like blow up later on.
Oh,
Kind of
I know
thing.
what you're talking about. And
Yeah,
the
yeah,
character
yeah.
was based off
Sean
of the likeness
Ashmore.
of yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
he was actually in it. And the really weird thing is it had live action like TV cutscenes or there was like a TV show that tied into it that was like in between, so like you could like watch the TV episode in between different portions of the game. It was like trying to do this hybrid thing,
Oh, wow.
which I respect, but the problem was I don't think Sean Ashmore was in it, so it'd always be like he was just leaving and then like these other characters showed up and I was like, But I wanted to try that game. I heard it was decent. I just never did, and I feel kind of bad about it now, but I'll probably try it out at some point. What do you think about it?
What do I think about it?
Yeah, from the little you know. I did
Yeah, from the very little I know, but I remember it though. I do. I remember seeing trailers for it. I forget where they advertised it all the time. It might have even been TV.
Yeah, maybe. I can see it.
Or YouTube or something. I used to see that ad all the time, and it's an interesting concept. And I think tying a game to something that's correlating it to something in the real world, like a show that you're watching, but it's kind of step in step with it.
Yeah.
The release of the game and then the actual show, so it's congruent and ties in. That's kind of interesting, and it's kind of like a double down.
Yeah.
Good marketing.
Yeah, it's ambitious. You got to give them that, right?
It is. Yeah. And the whole aspect of freezing time and what was it? It was kind of like I don't want to say a spy thrillery type of game.
Kind of, yeah. There was some of that stuff going on.
Yeah. Almost like 007 with freezing time.
Or it's like Inception-ish, Like
sure,
they're spies, but they're doing something in a fantastical setting.
Yeah, I mean, interesting concept, but
didn't get you.
Didn't get me.
I just like to think that like the marketing team is like sending all these ads out and they're just like watching you and they're like, guys, we can't crack him. He's not done a pre-order yet. And they're like, just send more ads. And you're just like, you just see him all the time and you're like, nope.
Hey, that's a guy from Smallville.
You're like, is that Jimmy Olsen? They should do a Smallville one of these, like a TV tie-in video game. And every like a few minutes, Clark gets a new power he doesn't know how to control.
There we go. Pre-order
right now. But like I said, I know a lot of people. Take my money. I know a lot of people said they enjoyed that game. So if you played that game and you're like, you got to play it, Jimmy, then let me know in the comments. Or if you're listening to this, just like tweet me and be like, dude, play that game. It's really good. But anyway, we're going to move on now to the next one that, again, I feel bad. We didn't play all these. I'm so sorry, everybody. This is Halo Wars 2 RTS on the console. I'll be honest with you guys, real-time strategy. I like real-time strategy. I'm garbage at real-time strategy. And I'm amazed that they even got this on the console. And not that they haven't done that in the past with other Halo Wars. But I remember this was they're trying to optimize it or make it quicker, I believe. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm interested in this. I didn't pick it up. I will say this, though. I really enjoyed the marketing for this one. Speaking of marketing, Joe, because it was like they had a big brute like from the Covenant side, and there was like some like older gentleman who was like part of the human side, and there would be like this huge battle going on, and like the two of them would like walk out and kind of face each other, and it was very much like you are the general of like the Marines basically, and trying to get to fight the Covenant. And I was like, oh, that's such a cool, like, it was a really cool concept. But again, I didn't play it because I was like, I'm gonna wait to play this on PC, and then I never did. I'm sorry, Halo Wars 2. But yeah, I don't know, Joe. Any interest in a real-time strategy game like this?
A real-time strategy game? What do you mean it's a strategy game?
Like not World of Warcraft, like Warcraft 3 or StarCraft. Like,
okay, yeah. On a PC, maybe.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
a console, probably never.
Hotkeys, baby. I need those hotkeys.
Exactly. Yeah, and a mouse and cursor is just nice because you can kind of be more methodical and quick about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately, things like that never really fall under my library of games. So,
yeah.
But
we brought it up because we just wanted to make sure to cover all of our bases. Now, here's one that we didn't play. This I feel bad because like we're just going down like ones we didn't play. This is one we didn't play, but in a sense, I think we kind of did. It's Forza Motorsport 7. Now, before the show, Joe and I are trying to remember we played Horizons before, but we Was it Horizons 2, Joe, that we played, or was it a
I
different one?
don't know
Was
what
it
one they're on. Are
4?
they on 4?
Did we play Forza? Like, I thought we played a Forza Motorsport, though. I think it was like 4 or 5 that we played, because I had like a free copy of it and you got it, and we just were like, we're just going to play. Because I remember so much like being able to out corner you on this one map, and like there's a straightaway at the end, and you were catching up to me, and I just beat you over the end of it just by this much, but you were like flying to catch up to me because I was like outmaneuvering you. I was like, and then at the end, I was like, oh god, that was close. But those games, the Forza games, and I probably missed like a Forza that was at the beginning of this this console generation, but those games always look amazing. That's kind of the thing. I preferred the Horizon games from the little I tried, just because they were more open world, and I enjoyed that a bit more, and they were kind of a little more fun. It was like you could kind of race other things besides just really nice cars. But the motorsport
Yeah.
games were like, if you wanted to play like a legit racing game where like you were on
Oh,
the
the
track,
most
yeah,
realistic.
like, and it's like car eye candy, because they're just like, look at how pretty these graphics are, and they're kind of a tech demo,
Well,
for
and one of the
next gen
greatest
consoles.
things about it is that they were actually accurate with it. Like
Oh yeah, totally.
the way, like I'm kind of a gearhead myself, and like I love that, like the way a car performs is similar to real life. The difference between an all-wheel drive car and a car that's rear wheel,
Mm.
mid-engine or front engine or rear. You get a feel for that feedback, and even just using a controller. I can't imagine steering wheel and all that. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
what
it'd
kind
be
of
sick.
feedback you get. Obviously it's realistic in the way you control, but um the feedback was great, and the way you would take lines, and if you hit little, like say you hit the inner caution strip on a corner, that feedback you get, and the way the car reacts is just, the physics are mind blowing. And that's even back in, like, I think 2015, no, 2013, 14, and maybe 15 is when I left off on Forza. I know I owned Forza Motorsports, or Motorsport 5, which was great in its own right. And that's 2013 is when it came out.
Was that
And
Xbox
then I
One?
had, yeah, and
Okay.
then I had played, I think I had the beta or demo or something like that, or a free download of Forza 6.
Okay.
But I didn't play it a lot, and that was 2015 it came out, and I kind of it went to the wayside on me. But then me and Drew got back into it, I believe, on, just hold on a second here.
Like
I'm
Horizon
actually
3 or 4?
I'm Googleizing this real time.
Googleizing. Real time Googleizing. That's good.
I'm
That's
trying to
good.
go off the covers here. I don't know if 4 came out in 2018, which I don't think seems right. I think it was 3 or 2 that we played,
Okay.
because we bought our house, yeah, around then, and we played it before that. So yeah, probably would have been 3 maybe.
Sure. Yeah, which again, like I said, I think I hate to just say that they're all like, we're just kind of comparing all of them directly to one another, because I'm sure there are big changes in them for people who are diehards for it. And I, as not being a car enthusiast, could still enjoy it for what it was and appreciate it from that standpoint. But Joe obviously got more of a kick out of it just because it's more of a thing you're into, Joe. So
Oh, for sure.
yeah. And just because we didn't play 7, I would imagine we'd be saying the same things pretty much. Yeah. But again, like I said, Horizons, they were kind of doing a different thing, and now I believe that team is for sure making Fable. So look at that, cat's out of the bag. We got him. I'm excited. I'm excited to just drift with the carriages in that game. You know what I mean, Joe? Like in Fable, it'll be like a horse-drawn carriage. It'll be like the drifting mechanics. We brought those over from Horizon, and it'll be like perfect. It's like,
I unfortunately don't know what Fables
don't
is.
worry, it's a third-person like RPG set in a magical fantasy realm, like medieval style, British humor.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on, Joe. We're moving on from that to a game. Again, these, I want to call it, they're exclusives to the console, and they've come out to other things since then, but I did want to bring it up because it's a game I both love and did hate for a time, and that is the The unforgettable, the incandescent, the masterfully crafted in a way for some. That's Cuphead, and oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I love animation. Obviously, I talk about Disney all the time, and that's where they got their roots. And obviously, they were inspired by old animation like this. And this game, Joe, was so like I think I have a full playthrough still on our YouTube channel about it. I and I like because those videos you could skip to the very end for each episode because it would actually show me beating the boss. Because I will never forget Grim Matchstick. He was this green dragon, and he took me like 3 or 3.5 hours to beat. And I finally beat him, and I felt so good because it was just like I was just shooting him for so long. But man, what a cool game! I think I don't know, it just stands out in my head, as being something really amazing. And because I loved the music, I loved how the characters were made and how they were animated in such a cool and fun way. It drove me to keep going even when times were tough. And I was like, this game freaking sucks. And then you can go watch like a person today beat it in 20 minutes on those speed run things. And they're like, all right, there's like a glitch here and you can do this. You can beat him immediately right here. And I'm like, I'm like, I still wanted it. I got a Cuphead shirt which says like "Don't deal with the devil," which I love, but I wanted a Grim Matchstick shirt, Joe, because much as I hated that boss, I loved his look. But yeah,
challenge.
Yeah.
What would a Cuphead shoot with?
So what he shoots with? Great question. He makes a little finger gun and he shoots out of his hand like this. You had different abilities though and different ways to shoot. Like you could do like a tri shot that shot like not as far. You had like little ring shots you could use. And the cool thing was that those abilities and like other special abilities you would have were good for different bosses. So like kind of figuring out how a boss like worked, and they had different stages, on top of like, okay, what works well for this one, that really helps a lot. Because there was this one where it was that boomerang one where it would go out a little ways from your hand and then circle way back behind you and then like come back again. So there was like a lot of like you're shooting like really close to yourself and they'd be like kind of mortars almost. But man, it was a cool game, and I really respect its studio, like MDHR or something like that. They like it's really like just go even watch it for a few minutes and you'll be like, wow, this it's like watching an old cartoon. They did.
It did sound
such a
like
good
it
job.
had quite the following. I remember seeing like T-shirts for it in certain stores and
Yeah.
stuff. Like more popular, I think most would guess.
Yeah, and it's since come out on like Switch and PlayStation 4 and stuff, so you can kind of play it anywhere now. But it kind of got
It
its
sounds
start
like the
there.
perfect game for Switch.
Yeah, it would be good. And one thing that was great about it is like if you lost to a boss, it would show you how far along you made it because they didn't have like health bars, which is nice because they'd be like, okay, you got like so close, and you're like, oh god, like if I could last out just a little bit longer. And also, it's co-op, which would be really fun. I don't think I played it in co-op or did not do that much with co-op, but it humbled people. I had my brother-in-law play it, and he's kind of one of these guys who's like, yeah, I'm pretty good at games, and yep, he lost to the carrot boss guy, one of the early ones on, and I was like, oh, it's not so easy, is it? It's like, it's pretty kind of a tough game, isn't it? But yeah, I thought it was really cool, and I really respect and love that game. It's probably one of my favorites from this generation. And I think in 2017, I had nominated it for one of our Game of the Years, because it was that, Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, and something else. Sorry, I don't remember. I feel kind of bad about it. Anyway, that's Cuphead. I just want to bring it up for a sec. Next one I want to talk about was something I was really excited about and then played it and really didn't like it and then tried it again eventually and still didn't really like it. That is, in 2018, Sea of Thieves. Joe, you tried Sea of Thieves as well. We had like one, maybe 2 nights or so that we tried this thing. I don't know.
Excuse my yawn. Long day.
I was gonna say it bores him that much. He's
no,
like,
Sea of Thieves had a lot of potential and was interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think done just a little differently, it would have been a blast. I remember we tried doing things, and obviously you gotta like loot and get money to like upgrade your stuff and upgrade your ship. I remember the sailing got a little monotonous. Like I understand, like if you're sailing from here to this island far away, like it's gonna be a trip. I get it,
Yep.
and you have to have that distance and range in order to like engage with other ships in the what do you want to call it, the lobby at the time or however it worked. I can't remember.
The Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, but I remember like going to some island and we had to find a treasure or this or that. And I mean, I remember it was convoluted. Like you had to find clues and then you had to find this. I mean, we never got anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost have a curiosity in trying it again just to see, because the idea of like you and your buddies getting together as pirates on a ship, fighting people and also grabbing treasure, and fighting people and taking their treasure and then going back to, reap the rewards is kind of cool. But I want it to be a little more direct, because I just remember going to an island, skeleton ghosts coming at you and you're killing them, and that's all cool and fine, but we could not figure out how to find this thing, and why does it have to be quite so convoluted? And I don't know. I'd like to get your take on it too. I thought it had a lot of potential, and my curiosity's still there for it. I just don't know if I have the time. I don't know if I want to have the time to go into something that's going to be semi lackluster or not.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've polished it more since or not, but
Sure. I don't know. Like, this game demands cooperation, and I think that even like for someone like me who always wants there to be better cooperation, it almost verged on the point of being ludicrous, where like your ship is, the sail would come down and would block your view if you were the captain, like if you were actually in charge of the helm, and you'd have to like rely on your teammates to kind of tell you where to go, or one of you would have the map and you'd have to go and show it to other people so they could look at it, and you'd all have to kind of figure out stuff together. In theory this works, but I think if you don't have the right group or the mentality of that, it starts to really like be kind of, it just starts to degrade your psyche. And then also this game, I don't know what it was about it, like the camera, the way it moved. This game like legit made me sick a lot. Like I felt like I was seasick even when I was on land. Like the way it moved in such a way, I was like, ah. And it was such a pretty game, but there wasn't a lot of like progression that I could feel, you know. And if I'm gonna play these types of games and get all this gold and bring it back and do these fetch quests, I want to like look different or feel different, and in a first person game that doesn't do it for me because I can't see that. So I have to like have the guns look cool, or my gloves look cool, or my ship looks cool. And maybe they've changed a lot of that since we played it, but I just remember
it
thinking
would have
like,
made for a good third person.
yeah, I think so too. And I did, the last time I played it was for a charity stream I did a while ago, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty much the same. And there was like a lot of like, oh, your ship was damaged by another ship, so somebody has to get down there and they have to bail water, and the other person has to like, board it up. And that's fine, but there was just like a lot of like, you were doing that and it felt like you were just screwing around, and some people love it. Some people really enjoy that. I just found it to not have a lot of like sense of direction or progression for me, and the mechanics weren't strong enough that I was like, this game feels fun to play.
That's true.
It didn't feel
That's
fun
true.
to like,
Sometimes the
yeah.
mechanics felt off.
Yeah.
I also, a lot of the times, like we had encountered another ship here and there, or we got boarded. I felt extremely underpowered. Like,
Yeah.
why am I not, like, what's happening here? And the ship engagements are actually really tough. Like the actual, getting the right position to get your cannons to hit. Like,
Oh yeah.
it was a lot harder than I thought. And I mean, it should be difficult because you don't want to just like obliterate ships off and on, and it's whoever gets the first hit. But I just felt like I never got anywhere. And if we got engaged by another ship, I always felt like, well, we're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. The water looked really good in this game though, and it's a pretty game. I just don't think the mechanics were strong enough that like it was fun to play, because I realized the games I love to go back to again and again and again are the games that feel good. And that's not like just like an overall feeling. I mean, like, it actually feels fun to play the game. This game did not feel that way for me. Like loading cannons or bringing up the anchor or bringing down the sails, it didn't, like, there wasn't like a tangible feel that I was like, man, I can't wait to get into another fight with somebody because it's so much fun to like clash swords. It wasn't. It didn't. So yeah, and also I think it's one of the reasons why Skull and Bones pushed itself off a little ways, like that Ubisoft like ship battle game, which I still really want to play one day. I think they looked at Sea of Thieves, and they had probably some issues with like making it be more than this. That was a problem Cuphead had a long time ago, Joe. Is that people are like, is it just a boss rush? And they're like, no, there are other levels in here too. And this like waited longer to make the full game. So I feel like Skull and Bones saw Sea of Thieves, realized they didn't have as much in the game, and they're going to try to make it more fleshed out. And I'm really hopeful because I want a good pirate game. I really want a good one, because the last one was Black Flag, Assassin's Creed. It was great. but I want to play one with my
Skull and
buddies.
Bones. So yeah, what's
Yeah.
the skinny on that one?
So that is the group. I forget if it's Ubisoft like Singapore, but they're the people behind most of the ship battle mechanics you found in Assassin's Creed 4 and 3 and Black Flag and
Oh yeah,
Rogue.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
I
you had like different
remember
like
now. Yeah.
I would have like a man of war, and you would have like a I don't know if it's like a brigade or something like that, or brigand, and we'd have like different classes of ships. But I think the worry with that game was like it was just going to be like team deathmatch with ships, and people want to go on land or they want more, to do with their friends.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
But
yeah. Plunder and this and that. And yeah, I totally agree. In a town to go back to and interact with that's like diverse, and
yeah,
that could be cool. I remember talking about that a little bit. That would be really
uh,
interesting. And especially if it's a little bit more realism. The
sure.
whole cartoony vibe of Sea of Thieves was okay for what it was, and it knew its lane and stayed there. But I think if you take something with that kind of concept, make it a little better, flesh it out, make it more detailed, and maybe almost a little bit Red Dead Redemption like, could be really cool. I think that's very enticing to me. Something that I would veer out of my lane a little bit for.
I just want to make you go play Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Joe, because that some of the naval battle stuff in there was so good. Like, and you felt the ship get stronger, especially when you added more and more cannons, because you could like fire more, because like you like charge up your shot and everybody would be loaded, and then you fire it, and then you'd watch ship health bars just like start to melt, and you're like, oh, I've gotten so strong. You're like, I'm just ripping people apart now. And that game felt good. The ship mechanics felt so good in that game. I wanted to keep doing all the stupid little ship stuff. Like I wanted to seek out the 4 strongest man of wars out there in the world and take them all down, because they were like special little boss battles, and I was like, I want to do this. Like, whereas like, and I know that Sea of Thieves is not about just naval warfare, but it's a big part of it. And I don't know, it felt like there was not as much in there. It felt like a very streamer game. Like the first time they showed it was like a bunch of streamers or people playing it, and it was very like, oh, you got to get over here, we got to bail water. That's fun and fine if you have a bunch of people to play it with, but if you don't, I don't know. I think you're just checking out pretty quick.
Yeah, no doubt.
No
no
thanks.
doubt.
It was still fun. We tried it. It was fine. Just move on to bigger and better things. That's what I say. Anyway, the last big one here that I need to talk about. And it's crazy because there was a ton of exclusives for Sony, and now not as many for Xbox. But the last one I'm talking about is just Gears 5. It's not Gears of War anymore. It's Gears 5, which Joe, you didn't play. I've now played through it twice because I played through it once like a couple months after it came out, and then I played through it again on stream because I played through all the Gears of War games, just like one right after another. And I like 5. It went in some different directions. I think you would appreciate some of the traversal mechanics they put in the game. They have this this kind of like, one of you is on basically like a snowboard, and the other one's like sitting on this kind of like sled, and it's like this big kite that kind of pulls you around, which was pretty interesting and kind of fun. It was kind of their big like, I don't want to say gimmick, but they kind of added an open world aspect to the game or to certain areas, which was fun. And it told a better story, I think. Kate being the, spoiler alert, she's the granddaughter of Queen Mira, who is the main bad guy from the original Gears of War franchise, and kind of her heritage with the Locust. And they did it like once. They didn't do it again, but like where Kate inadvertently controlled one of the Swarm, which are like the Locust Reborn. And I was like, oh, I wanted that to be a thing in the game where like you're behind cover and you're like, and you control one of them to just like turn on his buddies and start shooting them. They did, however, allow you to have Jack in this game, which is the little robot guy, and he could shoot out a thing that would make enemies turn on each other and then eventually explode. And it was cool. It was interesting to have something you could upgrade in Jack. You can make him stronger, give him different abilities throughout the game, and then also you could find these relic weapons, which were like, for instance, like a long shot, like the sniper rifle. You could get like a relic version, and then I think you could have 2 in the barrel all the time or something like that, where like most long shots you can only do 1 shot, so you could be like boom boom, and like you could be more efficient with it.
Oh, for sure.
They also added like ice mechanics where like if people would be running over like a lake or river, you could shoot at the water underneath them and it would break and they'd fall in and die like immediately. So there's like a lot of fun stuff like that. And
so cold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what are you quoting something? What are we quoting here?
I don't know that I was. I'm just thinking like you shot the ice and they fell through and they died immediately.
See,
all I can think about is when I've fallen in the cold water or I've been in cold water. You get up to your waist and you're like, I can't catch. but my breath.
Yeah, like your lungs are finally getting cold. It's like, ugh. Yeah, no, it was a fun game. I enjoyed it, and I think you would enjoy it too. It's one of those games where like you and I could go through it in like a weekend pretty quickly, like just the campaign. But the horde mode was good. I think like it wasn't as developed in a weird way. It was kind of scaled back from 4, I think, in some sense. It's still pretty good, and I played a bit of the PvP, which I would occasionally do okay at. But I just was never a fan of the whole wall bouncing shotgun thing. It just wasn't my jam. But yeah, Gears 5 seemed like an improvement to me. I also played a little bit of like this hive mode where you was like 3 of you and you had to like kind of plant a thing and run away. It was kind of weird. I don't know. All I know is that they're doing this update. It's a free update for the Series X and stuff where they put like Dave Bautista in as not just a skin, but like as Marcus Phoenix throughout the entire campaign, which is fine. Good for him. Like, I know he's been campaigning to be in a Gears movie for a long time. That's great. I love that he loves Gears of War. As I said before, I'm a huge John DiMaggio fan. I don't want to play a Gears game and not have Marcus Phoenix in there because I love his voice so much. Like, he's so good and so much more compelling than most of the characters. So, yeah, I like Gears 5. Also, they did a few things where you got to go more in like the world that wasn't completely destroyed, which is cool. It's more world building. I just like the world of Gears. I just really, really do. Joe, after playing 4, you weren't really in on 5 at all. Is there any interest in going back to it, or are you just kind of like, yeah, I had my time and that's good?
I had my time, and I just don't think for me personally that it has enough longevity.
Okay.
We played some of the horde mode. I mean, there was a week or two in there where we did the campaign, and then me, you, Drew, we were in, and we were doing the horde mode, and we would grind it out and try and get as far as we could, and this and that. But eventually, it's just like I hit the point where I'm like, okay, it's always AI. Nothing really changes too much. You try different tactics and such, which is okay, and we did that, but it doesn't have the legs that carry me through for months on end, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my take on it, I guess. But that's not to say anything bad about the quality of the game and the style and all that. It's just, yeah, I guess I want to put my money, if I'm in the games, I'm much more. It's gotta do me for a while, right?
Sure.
And then also in the same breath, it's gotta bring my friends together. So, because that's why I'm in the games purely. I don't necessarily ever really sit alone and play games alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's always if you or Drew or somebody's online. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that kind of is our list there. Like I said, it's not super long comparatively to something like Sony's, but still, I wanted to bring it up. From that list, Joe, are there any on there that like would jump to the top? Is it Halo 5 for you as far as like your favorites?
Yeah, I think memory wise and the fun I've had with it, probably Halo 5. We spent a long time in there hopping on every other night or so and just, the gang and just going at it and killing people, right? So, and that was fun. And I love the whole aspect of PvP, going after other online players and having that, it's just the competition factor.
Sure.
I like it. And especially when you're having that fun with friends doing it. So, a close second for me would be Forza. We're keeping it to like the Xbox One generation, but even prior to that on 360, I remember Forza 4. It was a freaking blast. I mean, we played it in college all the time and like souped up cars and wrapped them and stuff. And it was just, the creative aspect too, wrapping your car, and you could do it in 5, and I'm sure the new ones and everything, and skins that people made that you could grab for free or points that you earned in the game. I mean, that was just a freaking blast. I thought that was so cool. So I've got a lot of good memories there. So those two are kind of at the tops for me.
Nice.
But
I guess for me, I enjoyed Halo 5 a lot. I like Gears 5. Maybe Cuphead, though. Something about Cuphead's special, man.
Yeah, you were into Cuphead. You liked it a lot.
I liked it a lot, but I also hated it a lot. It was like a really weird relationship. Like, if you go back and watch those videos, you can see me, like, just be like, I can't even. Like, I almost broke things. It's like, I'm going to break this freaking game. But I got my hours worth, for a cheaper game. It was... got my time in, man.
But I think you're the type of person I knew you liked it and played a lot of it. You seem to have liked the challenge of it.
Right? I did, but it's weird because like a lot of people know me for not liking the Souls games, and those games are challenging. I guess I just don't like the aesthetic of the Souls games as much as Cuphead, and they're very different. But they just, I don't know, they weren't as like interesting or as as well. Like, I feel like Cuphead is such a fully realized thing. Like, if video games for me, like, if the game is 70% and the video is 30%, I feel like Cuphead is like 40% video, because like it's just, you can't talk about the game without talking about the visuals. It's just like, how did they do this? And when you like go and research how they did it, you're like, oh my god, you guys, like, you did what? How you hand animated all this stuff first? And then like I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's just really well done. It's just really well done, and I appreciate it. I respect it, and it's a smaller team, so good on them. Roll in that dough, baby. I'm excited for the next one, which is just all open world and third person action. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just I don't think they'd do that. I don't think they'd do that. Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, but those are the games of the the Xbox One of that generation. Like I said, I probably missed a few, and I'm so sorry. I probably botched some information here, but those were kind of the big ones. And yeah, man, even though there weren't as many, there's still plenty on here that I think that have stuck with me personally, just as much as the Sony games up until this point too. So yes, Joe, that was fun to talk about. Yeah, man. Oh man,
Yeah.
I miss Griffball a little bit. Hopefully, Halo Infinite has some fun little modes in there too. I really hope so, especially with the delay. As the recording, at the time of this recording, it's been delayed into 2021, and who knows when. They were just like, it's gonna be not with the launch of the Series X, so it'll be out eventually. It's like, all right, that's cool. Take your time. Take your time.
Everybody still is going to buy the Series X, obviously. They're sold out, and everybody wants it, so they have it for Halo eventually.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same. I feel like, too, because we're in a pandemic, it's like all the consoles were going to sell out. Like, PlayStation 5 sold out immediately, too. It's just like people are just like, I just need them. Just give me stuff.
Try buying an iPad right now or something, or anything to do with a home office.
Oh, yeah. I was looking I got this, like, Target, like, holiday ad thing, and they were in there about the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. I was like, it says you can buy them here, but like they're sold out. So like, I don't know if you like look at that and you're like, oh, we should get this, and you kind of like circle it on the little little magazine, and you like call them up, and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna get this. And they're like, we don't have any, man. And you're like, oh no.
Why'd you put in the catalog?
Exactly.
To trick you. We just love these phone calls.
Yeah, do you want to buy a Master Chief holding your Xbox Series X controller stand? He's holding it, but you don't have the game, but he can hold it for you. I was like, it's beautiful. Those add-ons, man. Which reminds me, I do need to look into a recharge cable. One of the I do not regret spending money on a charge pack for my Xbox One controller. Like I feel like I've saved the money in batteries alone, just charging.
100%.
Yeah,
I have rechargeable AA's now that I just have like 4 in rotation all the time.
Oh yeah, good man.
I always got 2 sitting there ready to change out, and then they're always going on the rotation for charging. So
sure. Also,
because I got sick of the cable, wouldn't quite connect right, or the rechargeable pack eventually doesn't hold the charge for very long anymore.
Yeah. Well, mine still does, but I sit really close to my TV, so I don't think most people have that set up where like it's like the cable is maybe 3 feet long or 4
Plug
feet long.
it in a pinch. Yeah.
I'm just like, I've had it happen mid-fight in like a online game, and I'm like, hold on a sec, everybody. Like, I wish I could get on mics with everyone at that moment and be like, guys, my you can't hear me because my controller's dead. Please leave me alone. I can't fight you right now. Anyways, that's Xbox. Let us know what your favorite ones are, or underrated gems, or ones that we maybe didn't mention or talk enough about down in the comments, or please tweet at us because we'd love to hear it. Anyway, Joe, that means we get to move into the next segment of the show where we talk about things we kill time with, or as I like to call it, you like to call it, we all like to call it,
Time Killers.
That's right, it's time for Time Killers. Wow, there's blood pouring out of my ears. Good job. That was good. That was very good. I like it.
Happy Halloween as of the time of the podcast release.
Exactly. Yeah, I was trying to think of how many years ago it was, Joe, since we hung out and played Grand Theft Auto 5 on Halloween.
Ooh.
Was that 4 years ago? 3?
Probably 5?
Was it 5? Oh my gosh. Okay.
Like 15, 14, somewhere in there.
Good times. Yeah. I'll
never.
Probably
14.
Yeah, I'll never forget you sitting in the living room and like I kept running out to like go give like trick or treaters candy. I'd be like, I'll be right back, and then like,
oh yeah, I forget what we were doing on there.
They had a Halloween special. It was like the murderer thing. They were doing like that kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, Joe, what have you been killing time with, man?
Not a whole heck of a lot. I've been rewatching a little bit of Star Wars here and there, the latest saga.
I can't believe you're watching it
just because I freaking love it. I even like 8, man,
Oh,
because it's 7, 8, 9, right? I
yep.
even like 8, and I know a lot of people say oh, it's so slow and all this. Yeah, but I know it was a skip and leader at the helm with the different director and all, but it was just kind of there was some sort of factor of intimacy about it and development, so it really helped to kind of set the foundation for the final installment, I think, in the relationships and such and things like that. I think it helped to really kind of allow all those things to cure.
Do you think it was all planned out beforehand? Is that the vibe you get?
What do you mean?
Like that 7, 8, and 9 were all planned out the way they were for sure?
No,
Okay. Okay.
no,
That's good.
no.
Because I was going to say, because it's not the case. I just didn't want you to be like, 8 is great because it's a perfect middle piece to this beautiful new pie we got. And
No, no. I first of all, well, I think you can kind of tell by the way things go, but I mean, all the background stuff and the stories and interviews and all that I've seen, I know it wasn't,
I wish we didn't
the
know.
fine. Yeah, yeah. But no, I don't know. There's something about everybody loves Darth Vader. I get it. I like Darth Vader too, but I like the Ben Solo story.
He has Vader. He's like a Vader stan, man. Like he loves him so much. He's like, my grandfather's charred helmet's in my bedroom, and I stare at it
Yeah, but then when
sometimes.
they get into the backstory of why he's Kylo Ren and what he's doing and why, and Luke's impact on him and all that, I really kind of it's cool. It's cool, and then how he comes back full circle and all that, and and not to mention, I mean, I love Daisy Ridley. That sounded weird. Sorry, Haley. No,
Yeah.
I mean I loved her in the role of Ray, and then Adam Driver is Ben. Kylo is awesome.
We know you love him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Blah
yeah, yeah.
blah
But
blah.
overall, I mean, I like these movies. I don't think I know everybody's like, well, but the originals and then the
Who
prequels,
cares? It's your opinion.
some of the prequels are good. I think the later ones, the Return of the Jedi, I really liked.
You mean Revenge of the
We've
Sith? I just want to
Revenge
start.
of the Sith.
Return of the Jedi is the original. The end. That's 6. I
Oh
just
yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
just
I'm
want to.
sorry.
I
Yeah,
just want
yeah,
to
yeah,
cut
yeah,
this off
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Not that anybody ever really comments on these, but just in case they're like,
yeah.
"How does he not even know?" He just watched all of them more recently, guys. All right, cut him some
Yeah,
slack. A lot
but
of
I
names are the
did like
same.
Return of the Jedi as well. But anywho,
Yeah,
these newer ones though, they just strike a different chord. I really enjoy them. There are certain aspects, obviously, I don't like. No movie's perfect, but
yeah, yeah.
and you know what's interesting? What solidifies it for me?
What?
Go to Disney World and go to Batu. Holy
Ah,
crap,
I.
dude!
Yep.
You go to that and having that experience, you're just like, yeah, I get it.
I just really think they're in like 10 or 20 years. I really think they're just gonna retrofit that with original trilogy stuff. Like, don't you think just a few
They might,
things they
but I
could do?
also wonder what lies next.
That's a great point too. Well, yeah, so they could do that too, where like the next trilogy, they're just like, well, now Batu has moved forward, and now Kylo Ren isn't there anymore, and it's new Sith
Yeah,
lady or whoever it's gonna be, or like whatever it's
something.
gonna be. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally. There's
yeah,
something about I think too to keep in mind, and this is not supposed to like I'm wearing a Space Mountain shirt. I love Disney World so much. I love Disney. I think it's just you go and you have to be smart business wise, and you start to say, hey, you know what? The people who grew up watching this new sequel trilogy, that's why they made Batu. Because the people who loved the original trilogy, the people who were there and saw it when it opened in 1977, like the very first one, they're getting older. They are not going to be the people who come to the parks all the time. It's
yeah,
just it's just the truth. And I get from Disney's standpoint where they're like, well, if we make an original trilogy thing, a lot of our new paying guests, like the people who are bringing their kids now who like the new trilogy are going to be like, yeah, I want to see the new stuff. I don't want to see just the old stuff anymore. So I get
yeah.
it. I get it. So maybe you're right, Joe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll just like jump it forward because like I feel like a few
They,
tweaks on the rides, man, and you'd be good to go. Like,
Yeah, I mean the adult audience enjoys it enough as well, and you do get your Darth Vader still around, character meet and greets and things like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and
exactly.
shows and stuff. So
Star Tours, yeah,
that's always present regardless.
yeah.
And even though you bring in the newer, more relatable stuff for your main priority audience or your primary audience
Mhm.
being the younger generation that's seen all this and constantly watches it because it's the most relevant to them at their time. I think that's the pattern they got to stick with.
Yeah.
We cater to the larger percentage, right? And
Yep.
the adults are going to enjoy it regardless because they may have started with the originals, but they still get a little bit of that aspect, like I said, but they're also able to enjoy the newer stuff, and so you're still pleasing everyone to a certain degree. So
Yeah.
I honestly think it will just progress into the next thing. And I'm very curious to see what that next thing is. And I hope that they can do something as compelling.
Well, they're going to, because I'm going to be part of it. So I'm going to make it just as compelling, if not more compelling. It was funny that you mentioned that, Joe, because I was watching someone, friend of the show, Chris Provost. He went and finally rode Rise of the Resistance, which I will keep saying this. The name is, I don't know, if you ride that ride, it doesn't really fit. But anyway, it sounds nice. But he said he got off of it, and I watched his reaction to it, and he is an original trilogy guy. He loves that stuff, but he said to him it felt special because it felt like all those times when he'd sit in on Saturdays and like play with his Star Wars toys and stuff. It felt like that came to life, and he was like in it. And it didn't matter that it
That's
was
true.
the sequel trilogy, because you're still seeing machines and corridors and things that are
Yeah, the
almost just,
environment.
yeah, they're all pretty much the same. There's just a little bit new dressing on it. The names might
Yeah,
change. It's like the First Order is still the Empire. Like, it's not like it's
yeah.
really changed. Like, so he's like, that was the thing. I just know that for me personally, Joe, I love Vader too much. There's something wrong with me, Joe. He's just so scary. I just want more
Yeah.
Vader stuff. But anyway, yeah, no, I think it's cool. I'm glad that Batu kind of sealed it for you, because I don't know if there's any Star Wars fans out there who have like avoided going there because it's like sequel trilogy. I don't think any of them really have. They're just like, yeah, it's Star Wars. Like,
If you have, then shame on you.
yeah, I don't know
Um,
why you would. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably one of the primary, if not the main draw for me as to why I would ever go back to Disney World in the near future.
Right under this.
Sure.
I can edit
One of
this
the
out and make
Space
it.
Mountain cars or trams should lead right into Batu.
Oh my gosh, Joe, that would be perfect. If you're like sitting there, and they're like, "Do you have a park hopper?" And you're like, "No." And they're like, "Do you want to buy one?" And be like, "Sure." And you like buy it, and they're like, "All right, have fun about two." And they just shoot you off like you're in one of those
Yeah.
like the bank tubes. You're like, ah! Like, that
Yeah,
would be
I mean, I don't know, it would be cool.
yeah.
Anywho, yeah, but other than that, I mean, there's been other stuff. I mean, I know Sunday, you and I, the crew,
I'm
me
sorry.
and you.
Yeah.
I always get this screwed up. Proper English. You and Jimmy and I, but you and me.
No. You could say you and I, because you'd say I played this game. You wouldn't say me played this game. Like, I played this on Sunday. Me played this
Okay.
on Sunday.
Well, anywho, we all downloaded Rogue Company. I was pleasantly surprised that it was only 11 gigabytes. And Rogue Company, it's a free-to-play game right now. You say it's a beta, but I'm not sure it's still a beta.
I think it
Maybe?
might have. Sorry, the beta was back in July, and now I think
Yeah.
it is actually fully launched. But you can purchase like starter packs still. Like, they're still kind of in that season 1, it seems like. But anyway, third
Yeah.
person 4v4 match, free to play game. Continue.
Yeah, and different characters with different weapons and specialist abilities, and as you play your rounds against the opposing online team, you earn money, and which is your points, and that money each time you respawn for the next match, because it's like best out of 3 or whatever, and you get to purchase and upgrade your equipment, weapons, etc., and perks, which is really cool. And so as you progress in each match against that same team, because of the best out of 3 scenario, you get better and more powerful. But so does the other team. But it's just fun. And the specialist aspects, what's it called? The ability, the passive abilities, and then the weaponry all being unique, and stuff like that, and equipment and perks being unique, and being able to set up strategically your team to win these matches is just a lot of fun. And it's intimate. I think good map design for the most part. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. Um, it gives you a little bit of an Overwatch vibe, only a little less crazy and zany. Um, and it's got good style to it, I think. And I think it's kind of one of those games where it's competitive yet kind of just fun to chill with the squad and kind of go in at it. And I had fun with it. I think it's something that from time to time, I think getting the crew together to play is a good time. So, um, but that's my time killers. I'm gonna hand it off to you. Maybe you want to say a few words about it. I don't know.
Sure. So I played it on Sunday with you, and then I played 2 rounds last night by myself just to try it out. I think it's decent. I would say it's like Overwatch meets CS:GO meets like a little bit of League of Legends, just with how like purchasing items and things go in between rounds. I think that it is a very like you said, it's an intimate game. I think that's a really good way to put it, and it is really it it behooves you to be strategic, which can be very good but also very bad. Because like you have to coordinate really well, and if your team doesn't do that, especially when I was playing by myself, it can go really badly pretty quickly. But yeah, I like it. I think it's fine. I was like, this is decent. It's decent. And it's free to play. So again, with these free to play games, it's always hard for me to say anything bad about them because I'm like, well, it's free. Like, and the grind to unlock other characters, because you start off, I think it's called Rogue Company. So there's 6 rogues, I think 6 that you get to pick from to start, but there are 14 altogether. And to grind out to get another one of those rogues, I think roughly from what I was gathering, depending on when you did like the little daily quests and stuff, a couple hours maybe, or I should say maybe more like 5 to 6, depending on how well you perform as well. But getting those other characters doesn't necessarily give you like a huge advantage or anything. They just come with different abilities and different weapons to unlock potentially. But yeah, I guess finding the synergy there could be fun. I think they could take it a step further and kind of really kind of force teams to work together, because there was still kind of like that. You just kind of like, you could run like Joe, you could like run completely the opposite direction and do whatever you wanted, and like if it was 3 versus 4 for a second, like the match would be done. You know what I mean? Like it goes quickly depending on which game mode you're playing, especially if you don't have the response part of it. But yeah, I think it's decent if you enjoy competitive games like that, third person shooters. If you're like looking for like a Fortnite type game, like the style of fighting that Fortnite has without the building, and you just want to hop into matches that are really quick, this is a game that you should check out. Also, it feels really good. The running, you're a bit slow, which I don't like, and there's like a dodge roll. There's no cover mechanic really. But the shooting itself, the gunplay feels really good, and I think that's something that keeps you playing. You know what I mean?
And surprisingly, there are perks like your health regenerates. There's no like armor thing, but there are like perks that help you like move faster instantly after taking damage. And I find that tumble roll, like if you're being shot at and you're about to go down, but if you tumble roll, like you actually can escape or evade dying somewhat efficiently. The tumble roll, it feels a little clunky, but it works well. And from a third person perspective, I think the style is really good. It lends itself well to the gameplay, and cover mechanics aren't stellar by any means, but it's there. I think with the map design, they make little nooks and crannies where you can actually make a sniper work for the gameplay, which is surprising because the maps aren't necessarily huge. And there are little peekaboo spots and head glitches and things like that if you use wisely are really advantageous. So I think overall, I mean, for a free to play game, and obviously the money is going to be made in the transactions on in game, but I think they put good effort into it. It's nicely done, very stylistic. It feels like quality to me, to be honest.
Add a cover mechanic though. I want to slide into cover mechanic. That's the one thing that frustrates me about this. After playing like Gears of War and stuff for so long, I want to be like in cover. You know what I mean? Because they do the kind of pop up thing if you're kind of behind cover.
Maybe
but I want
that's something they would add. I think it would work well for the game
good.
For sure.
Good. Yeah. Besides that, though, on the other end of it, what was I watching recently? I watched something. I watched a few things. I watched a really dry documentary on Doc Holliday, thinking it'd be a lot more interesting than it was because I recently watched Tombstone, which is one of my favorite films of all time. Uh, Doc Holliday was an interesting guy, but it was like an Amazon. They like recommended it to me. It was like this Amazon documentary, and I've been getting into documentaries lately, but this was a very like because Doc Holliday is an older, like, it was a gunslinger from the West, but he's also like a dentist. I learned some stuff about him, but a lot of it's just like black and white photos that they slowly move over and just like talk. Like, so it's like, I felt like I was back in school a little bit. I was like, okie dokie. I'm like,
well, better than a lecture,
right,
but
thank
not
you.
much.
Yeah, I was like, it's an hour and 14 minutes. I'm like, here we go. So, yeah, kind of got through that, which was great. What else? Played a little bit of Battlefront 2 recently. For some odd reason, I wanted to just go back through the campaign, just to try it out. I like the campaign in that game. I've said this before, and I'll say it again probably. I really want them to make like a Ghost Recon, third-person, co-op, open-world shooter that's Star Wars, where I could play as like an elite infantry group of Empire soldiers who their best quality is that they can actually hit things, and it confuses other stormtroopers. Like when they go back to the Star Destroyer at night or whatever, they're like, "Oh my gosh, look at those guys! They're so good!" And they'll be like, "Well, why are they so good?" And be like, "Well, they can actually hit their targets." Like, oh, like like all the stormtroopers, they feel bad because they're like.
I second the thought. I think it's a great idea.
I'm telling you, man, just one day. I really want it. Please.
But I want somebody besides EA to produce it because some people can't access their EA account, and therefore you can't play any of the online portion of the game, only the campaign.
That's why I was apologizing earlier, because I was going to say, Joe spent probably like an hour and a half or 2 hours trying to actually log into his EA account on his Xbox the other day, and it was really sad because it's like, oh, we just kind of wanted to play and not have these problems, but we're still trying to figure out. I don't know. Anyway,
I want to get it to work because I do want to play the game. I want to be Kylo Ren and the Hero v Hero so badly.
Yep, and I want to be his superior, Grandpappy Darth Vader, who's just choking people and just like all too easy, throwing his lightsaber. I like it. It's a beautiful looking game. And I do, besides just EA having it, I want like other people to get a chance to make a Star Wars game, because I think there's some developers out there who would just salivate at the chance to make a Star Wars game, because they'd be like, all right, like it's been years since anyone else outside of EA has gotten a chance to do this, and we're gonna crush it. So like, I just wish that license could be for everyone, but it's too big. It's so big, and I think there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in what EA's partnership with Disney is, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon until Disney eventually just makes their own gaming console. And it's just like, well, whatever. Like, just big. I don't know if they'd actually do that, but I wish they'd get back to another gaming studio for Disney. They used to have one. The last big thing they did was Disney Infinity. I'm looking at it right now, 3.0. Oh, rest in peace. But yeah, I would just love to see some other stuff. Anyway, a little bit of Smavengers, or Avengers. I like to call them Smavengers. I don't know why. I think I mispronounced it once and have called them that ever since. A little bit of that. A lot of that stuff's been delayed into the next year as far as the updates go, which is really sad. It's unfortunate, but hey, it happens. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, by the way, I got back into Blacklist. Oh my gosh, I keep thinking that show. I'm like, I'm not going to get back into it for another season. James Spader is one of the greatest actors of all time to me, because the guy can say almost anything, and it's just so, it's like John DiMaggio. I'm just like, I'm just glued to the screen. He can be threatening someone, or he could be telling a fun little anecdote from his childhood, and both are equally compelling. I don't know how he does it. I don't know. He's just wearing his little fedora and his sunglasses. I'm just like, you're good, man. That's real good. I don't know. They have a good cast all around. I'm a season behind. It's whatever's on Netflix, but check out The Blacklist. It's a great show with great actors. Like, it's and it's so formulaic, Joe, but I love it because I'm usually not into formulaic stuff. But this show is so wacky. Like, on one of the last episodes I watched, Raymond Reddington, the guy he plays, had won a Magic the Gathering card game. I didn't know he played, but like what that did was allowed these FBI agents to go to a gaming shop, give this guy some information, some coordinates, and then he went to like his little gamer room. But the guy had like this setup with 3 monitors and stuff, and he actually was like a drone pilot. And that's how Raymond Reddington's like world works. He has a bunch of like kind of weird people on the fringe that you would never take seriously, who are like deadly or have a specific skill, and they're just everywhere. And it's just like, the show's kooky.
Really?
It's a kooky show, and I really
Really?
like it. Yeah,
The
it's
name doesn't really set that stage, but so is it kind of about CIA type stuff or what?
yeah. So basically, the premise is this: there's like this special task force that was like out to hunt down the most famous or infamous thief, con man, the concierge of crime, as they call him in the world, who is Raymond Reddington. And in the first episode, he turns himself in to this group, and it's like, why would he do this? Eventually, he kind of worms his way into their hearts and stuff, and he's like, here's the deal: I'm gonna work for you guys, and you are going to basically take down all these people on this list, which I call the blacklist, which is a bunch of like really horrible people that even I'm like, I hate these people, they're horrible. So he helps this, like, the FBI take these guys down, but also progresses his own empire at the same time, because he's kind of like, he's using them eventually, and they basically kind of work for him in a sense, down the line. So he, like, it's just fun. It's cool to see all these like really, like, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts who are just like, I would never break the law. Now eventually they start doing like really kind of bad things because it's just been so long that they've been working with him. He's rubbed off
Sure.
on them. Like,
And
I don't know.
Raymond is James Spader, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is excellent. He's got a right hand man named Dembe, who is also really good. Elizabeth Keene, she's kind of the main protagonist of the show, and her relationship with him is kind of in question a lot of times, but it becomes a father daughter type thing. Are they father and daughter really or not? That's kind of part of it. There's like this overarching mystery to it all. I don't know.
No.
It's just a fun show, and I've been enjoying it. And he became an executive producer a while back. I don't know if he was from the start, but like the show wouldn't exist without him. So there's been a few times where it's like he's about to die, and I'm like, well, he's not really gonna die, but they still sell it well enough where you're like, oh, maybe. And it's like, no. He's like, he's the guy. Like, they can rename the show Raymond Reddington, and that'd be the show. But anyway, it's just, I've watched it for years, and I still love it. I just caught myself like watching 2 or 3 episodes, and they're like 45 minutes long, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm staying up way too late. I'm like, let's watch the first little bit of this one, and I'm like, oh, here I am. I'm like, here I am again. Anyway, check it out. It's got the kookiness, Joe, a little bit of Smallville. I'll say that much to you. It's a little kooky like Smallville. There you go.
Interesting.
Anyway, let's finish up the show with my favorite segment, which is community feedback and
questions.
That's right. Here we go. Singing a song for my friend Joe. Did you like that? I just made that up on the spot. It was real
well done.
Good.
You
Okay.
rehearsed in front of the mirror for hours, I guarantee it.
No. Okay. Sounds like last week's. Anyway, I wanted to start by reading off a write-in on our Discord that came in a few weeks ago, and I'm so sorry, Missile Mage. I know you wrote this in, and I wanted to get back to this. This is about the Sony games, the best Sony games of the generation. He had a little preamble here, but he said, but here are my favorite games from this generation. He said, Horizon Zero Dawn, simply stunning visually. Combat is very fun, and those machines are just incredible. Nier Automata, I really enjoyed the combat. The story and music are just on another level. Stunning game. Persona 5 Royale, I must have put 500 hours combined into both versions of Persona 5. The music, the style, the relationships. What a video game. Spider-Man, it's all about the swinging mechanics. I never fast traveled once. I just want to swing. I enjoyed the story too, and combat was fun. Final Fantasy VII Remake, they just nailed the characters, Jesse with a little heart emote, and combat was converted to action expertly, and I enjoyed most of the changes. And shout out to the games like Overwatch and Final Fantasy XIV expansions as well. Difficult to classify them as far as favorites, but put so many hours into each. And he said at the end, that should be short enough. Well, it was. Don't worry about it. And we'll give you a pass on this one, but best games of the generation, I'm sure Overwatch would make some people's list. And 14, I know a lot of people have been throwing time into, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, Joe, here comes a question. I kind of had to change it a little bit here. This one comes in from Mecha Rekka. He said, what's the most underrated Xbox exclusive game from this generation? I don't know, and then eventually he said indie, and I was like, we're not the guys to ask about indie games because we don't play a lot of them. Yeah. But, well, like, most underrated Xbox game? I don't know.
I mean, we did talk about Halo 5 being very underrated for what it was. Sure. It was quality.
Yeah, maybe that. I wonder.
But that's not indie.
Also, too, like, when we say underrated games, usually that means like it might have reviewed pretty well, but then like sales wise it didn't, or kind of a combination of those two things. Where like I would guess like Ori might be one of those games that might be underrated because like or Quantum Break, maybe, where it was like, yeah, it's kind of this weird, it's like a movie, TV game thing, hybrid. I don't know what it is, but it's like a fun game. I'm not sure. That's a great question, though. If anybody listening to this has an answer for that, please let me know. Is that where you're going to stay with, though? Probably Halo 5?
Well, yeah, but also underrated, meaning maybe it got poor ratings but did really well.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. These are the questions that'll keep us up tonight. It's funny because I was going to say, the J-Strom on here, he says Quantum Break was really good. He enjoyed it quite a bit. He said it's a bummer more people didn't get to play it. Yeah. And then Fraggin says, I've been really itching to play Control, which is like Quantum Break, but then Quantum Break had an amazing concept to me, but watching it being played seemed all over the place. Yeah. Third person games like that trying to do something different can seem a little jarring sometimes, but who knows? I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys so much for all of your questions. I appreciate you guys writing in like that. If you guys ever have a topic or a guest or an idea for a show or whatever it's going to be, just tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to us. I am at GoCritical or at JimmyGood013. However, if you'd like to tweet at Mr. Lever over there, Joe, where can they find you?
You can find me at Lever just like Beaver, only with an L.
Exactly. Perfect.
I screwed that up. It's the first time I've screwed it up in years.
And I let it go. I just let it go because I
get so excited about the Lever like Beaver, only with an L. I forgot. Lever _627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L.
I don't think we're at that point yet where we could just like tell someone to change their Twitter handle. However, if one of you out there wants to change your name from what you have to Lever just like Beaver,
I'm just gonna change it to Beaver. I'm gonna just change it to Beaver 627. It's easier.
Yeah,
it's Beaver just like Lever, only with a B.
He loves beavers. He loves them so much. You know what I mean?
We're done here.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, we're talking about animals, Joe. Which I should have predicated that with like a quick little quiz that I've been like this quadruped mammal lives in the Midwest.
Flat-tailed rat, often called.
Yes, exactly. Likes to make its home out of tree trunks and birch thing. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't prepare this. So anywho, if you Anyhoot, if you want to support us or check us out on other places, please go check out. We have an Instagram, a TikTok, a Spreadshirt, other things that I'm trying to remember. Oh, Facebook. We actually have a website. If you've missed anything, I have to update that a little more officially, but it's gocriticalreviews.com. We also have a Discord. If anybody wants in on that, please let us know. We'd be happy to have you jump in and talk games, movies, anything. You want to talk Disney? We'll talk. I'll talk Disney all day. Anyway, yeah, it's just I love it. I'm making a lot
of content on the YouTube channel too, besides the podcast.
Look at Joe's promoting. That's true. I make a bunch of things that like some people watch. Which is good. It's just I'm trying out there. Yeah, if you want to go watch other stuff, I try to link stuff that you guys can see. They'll pop up if you're watching this. If you're just listening to this on like Spotify or Google Podcasts or iTunes or whatever else, let me know. I'd love it if you left a review. That'd be great. I'd appreciate it. But yeah, I do make a bunch of stuff for YouTube, and I would love to have you guys check that out. Share it around if you can't donate in any other ways. But we also have a Patreon, so if you want to support that way, that's an option as well. But Joe, thank you for the plug, Joe. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, I have a marketing degree from Harvard.
That's very good.
I never use it except for now. I don't know. Does Harvard do marketing?
I feel like this would be like the lie we're caught in trying to like crash a wedding or break into like some sort of fancy party, and then it'd be like, so what do you do for work, Mr. Beaver? And you're like, I'm marketing, and I got a degree from Harvard. No one really talks about that part of the college, but it's pretty good. And it's like I got a lot of friends from there. You want me to call? Hey, one's calling me right now. I gotta go. Like, yep. Smooth.
Crash a wedding. Add that to the bucket list. Let's do it.
I actually saw some people try to crash a wedding, and they got forcefully kicked out because they were easily spotted. It was like, if you're gonna do that, don't do it. But if you're gonna do it, don't stand out. It's kind of no. Right, Joe?
Right, right. You gotta be inconspicuous and kind of warm yourself into the crowd, and yeah, yeah.
Very
And
good.
when everybody's real slosh, then you can get into it and kind of make a show.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't be making crazy moves at like 9 p.m. You save that to like
Hmm.
12:30 a.m. You got you
Hmm. Hmm.
just be smart about it. Anyway, yes, please go check out all those things, or if you can donate, that's great. But just donating your time, that's huge because you guys can listen to anybody on here, but you choose to listen to us, which is a big deal. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and Joe, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, good sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and until next time, everybody, just love and hugs to you all, and remember to adapt and overcome. Got it.